Doomsday cult mother convicted of triple murder. Now, guys, there's a lot of details here and a lot to unpack, so let's get into it. In a chilling verdict that brings closure to a gruesome saga steeped in a doomsday prophecies and deadly fanaticism, a mother from Idaho, her name is Lori Vallow Daybell, has been convicted for the shocking murders of her two children and her husband's previous wife. Daybell, a seemingly ordinary woman, underwent a disturbing transformation following her instant connection with Chad Daybell, an author of Mormon-based doomsday fiction, after they met in 2018. Their bond deepened as they started a religious podcast together and led rituals, even claiming that they had been married in past lives. Daybell's beliefs spiraled into darkness after she started branding her own children, 7-year-old Joshua JJ Vallow and 16-year-old Tylee Ryan, as zombies, meaning individuals allegedly possessed by evil spirits. In 2019, her then husband, Charles Vallow, alerted authorities about Lori's alarming claims of being a goddess tasked with precipitating the biblical apocalypse. His concerns fell on deaf ears, leading to his murder in July of 2019 at the hand of Lori's brother, Alex Cox. In a horrifying twist, Tylee and JJ mysteriously disappeared just a month after Charles's death. Their whereabouts remained a mystery until June of 2020, when their remains were discovered in Chad's backyard. The unexpected death of Chad's wife in October of 2019 added another layer of morbidity to the saga, with Chad marrying Lori only 2 weeks later. Her death was later ruled a murder. Lori was found guilty on all counts related to the disappearance and murder of her children on May 13th and awaits sentencing. Now known as the Doomsday Mom, Lori also awaits trial for her alleged involvement in the murder of her fourth husband in Arizona. Oh my God. Okay, so there is a lot to unpack here. So let me break this down. Imagine there are these two people, okay? There's Lori and there's Chad. Lori and Chad both have their own marriages and they both have their own families, right? And in 2017, Lori becomes a fan of Chad's books. And then in 2018, they meet together for the first time. And then they start to work together and they have this religious podcast that they do together. And they start kind of leading this little miniature religious community and start to get a little bit of a following of people who think that they have spiritual belief, like spiritual powers, and that Lori is like a sexual goddess who's here to like bring about the apocalypse, and that they have this special ability to detect when someone is a zombie, which means that they're like spiritually dead. And they had this belief that is, if someone is like spiritually dead and a zombie, the only way to free them is to basically get rid of the physical form, I think is one way of putting it. And so they start to have these beliefs together to the point that Lori's husband starts to initiate a divorce against her because of how bonkers she's getting. So Lori is estranged from her husband when her husband goes to check on her children. And when he arrives there, Lori's brother shoots him dead. And at first, it seemed like a self-defense situation, and like he got off. And then within one or a few months, Lori has a 7-year-old boy and a 16-year-old girl. And first, the 16-year-old girl goes missing. She disappears. And then a few weeks later, her son disappears. And no one really hears from the kids for a while. And then Chad, he has a wife. His wife dies in her sleep suddenly. And at first they think that it's like natural causes because she was kind of sick. 2 weeks after his wife dies, they get married. And they go on a honeymoon in Hawaii while her 2 children are missing. And eventually, the authorities do a wellness check for these children after their grandmothers get concerned about, like, where are the kids? And after months and months of investigation and, basically after several months of investigation, they find the bodies, and the bodies are on the property of Chad. And they murdered her children because they were zombies. They were spiritually dead. Basically, I think subconsciously or subconsciously, whatever spiritual beliefs they had were used to get rid of the obstacle that Lori had towards getting the partner that she wanted. And this is how far it went. This is how far it went.
Um, 7-year-old
Mm-hmm.
and 16-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
So I still don't get it. They killed a 7-year-old, a 16-year-old because they were in between them and getting to the person they wanted to be with.
I think that's like the ultimate reason why, but they were the people that were in their community, like, heard them talking about the children as zombies. These things were spiritually dead, blah blah blah. And then their community of people that were their followers, they like knew what that meant. See, the Daybells believed, quote, zombies were people who had died and their bodies had been possessed by evil spirits. The group would spend time praying to get rid of the zombies, and even believed that if they were successful, the possessed person would physically die, freeing their soul from the quote unquote limbo. Lori had told some of her friends that her estranged husband, Charles, was a zombie, according to investigators. And some in the group regularly joined her in praying for his demise. After he was shot and killed by her brother during an argument, her brother reportedly told another follower that he didn't feel bad because he killed a zombie. The group also believed that once a person became quote-unquote exalted, they couldn't be held responsible for their actions on Earth. Because Lori was already exalted, one of the friends told investigators, according to the report, she would often slam her head on the counter, her hand on the counter, and say, "It doesn't count for me. Any sins in this lifetime, I'm exalted. Doesn't count."
It's insane. I don't know what to say. These people are have other issues added to religion. Like, this is obviously a religion problem, but it's also a mental health problem. Like, we can't reduce it to either or. Like, this cannot be reduced to religion. It's obviously not just religion. These people have other problems beyond religion, right? But it's also not just mental illness, because when you have mental illness, superstitious beliefs add to that, makes it a lot more toxic and a lot more dangerous. So you can't reduce it to either one of these. It's usually they work with each other. But yeah, what a disaster.
Yeah.
And another problem is that a lot of people that act like this, they don't show any signs, like warning signs. Like, they function like normal people. You don't see it coming at all until it happens.
She was like a normal
children.
person until she started to like read his Doomsday books and got like sucked into his like kind of Mormon influenced Doomsday beliefs about the end of the world, and that they were gonna, like, in the Bible it says somewhere that there's like 144,000 people that are going to be like the ones that are saved on Judgment Day, and she like somehow thought that she was going to lead that, and that there was like reincarnation at the same time. It's wild where these beliefs will take some people.
Get my best-selling book, Why There Is No God, for free. Click on the link for it in the description.